regarding this quote from Rumi about anger and pride and humility. Just a little touch on that. As I've always said and written many times, humility is the best quality a human can have to improve, to become a better human, a better being. And that is the quality that has been lost now quite a lot. Ego lives also through pride. And as much as many people think this is a positive word, and they like to say that I am proud of this, proud of that, well, pride is definitely coming from a level of insecurity and weakness, weak mind. The need to show to oneself, to convince oneself that one is so good or whatever. And then many people nowadays always have an opinion on everything. There are maybe two aspects of that. One thing that I've seen the evolution from a long time ago, and I had predicted that. At the time, and for me also, when I studied, at least I had some respect and could acknowledge my teachers, any kind of teacher, because I could see that they had gone through proper education, training, practice, experience, and also basically what we qualified as professionals at the time, exactly people had gone through the process to be called knowledgeable, at least, if not professional. And then we started to get to those new generations with more and more pride and ego, wannabes, all the wannabes, and everything had to happen quicker, right? And the ego became bigger and bigger. And ultimately, I could see that it's shifted pretty fast, especially with the new age type, with the whole pretense, right, of being spiritual, humble, with a soft voice and cool words, but actually a lot of narcissism and pride behind it, and a lot of needing to show or to show off, as I mentioned in other place. So suddenly it switched from the humility to accept to be a beginner, to not know, and to go through the process to learn properly. And even though it was tough to learn some things, but to accept to fail and to not being good at it or not smart for some time, and it takes time to learn. And that goes again with the evolution of the American society, the whole don't hurt my feeling things, I realized also at the time that diplomas became easier and easier, right? Grades became higher and higher for less and less worth. Again, it goes back to the lowest common denominator, right? The system has tried to dumb down the population, so to make people dumber and dumber, you make them think that they are smart and they have good results, good marks on the exams, but the exam became easier and they inflate the marks. And that's very much the American society again, at first, and influencing the West again, everywhere. So then suddenly people started to think that they are so smart, also because of the parenting, again, parents becoming weaker and weaker, not being able to be tough a minimum in a realistic way, an objective way compared to the kids. Again, don't hurt their feelings, right? Don't make them feel bad, and the whole self-esteem concept has made people completely detach and get out of touch of reality like that, of what they are really are, what they are really at, as far as intelligence and proper knowledge of life and worthy things in life. So at the end, it has created that new generation, of course, as we see now, the completely degenerate generation, especially again in America first and foremost, and then influencing the rest of the world. So then suddenly those people, they started to go into their dreams, and of course the parents and the system supposedly supporting them like that, didn't dare to make them step back and get some reality check of no, that's not reality right there, you're not that, or you're not there. So because we don't want to hurt, right? So that creates that whole generation of people completely out of touch of reality. And then ultimately it has created a generation of people who went through education and training to become, let's say, professionals. Now we have that generation that says, I want to be that. Well, I am that. Really, like it has really happened like that. And I've seen that evolution actually with the fields that I enjoy too. First you had, real psychology, psychoanalysis, where people had to go through those studies, university, college, to become that, and years of studies. Then the coaching thing came up, exactly, I guess, from someone who didn't agree with the system and wanted to make their own thing. But these people maybe had their own proper take from objectively observing humans and making proper statistics. But then they decided, oh, I'm a coach, I'm a life coach. And then they started to create a kind of organized system, education system around that. And suddenly they created again that whole typical thing that now everybody shows as a supposedly diploma, but which is not worth anymore anything, when you can see again with this whole new age category of being certified this and certified that. But still they created supposedly an official life coach certification. But then over time, people started to label themselves as life coach or spiritual coach, whatever. Yeah. And but just because that's what they wanted to be, and they don't want to go through the process of being tested for real, for where they're at again, so that they make sure that their feelings don't and the ego doesn't get hurt, to be shown where it's really at, that they are not actually that smart or that knowledgeable. And it's pretty amazing and crazy. So we really went from people having the right competence, capacities, skills that they had to train for and develop over years, to nowadays people say, I am this, I am a fairy, I am a star seed, all this kind of new age BS. So here, for example, like over time, I've seen that on different websites, and I mean, yes, exactly, because of the people having more and more access to information online, of course, and people started to read about things that spoke to them and appeals to them. So suddenly they think they discovered the true nature, but then only from reading online. And of course YouTube got developed, and then people started to watch documentaries or tutorials and whatever, and then they think it was enough to label themselves, just like if they were like really competent in that and had the real skills, even though they don't. And that's the problem with this new generation and new technology, and nowadays we know, I mean, even myself, I am a true Buddhist, and I practice properly, deeply, and I went all in, and I have the proper experience to know what I'm talking about. Then I met some people who have PhD in Buddhist studies and at university, and they and basically they are teaching other people about Buddhism at university, PhD level, whatever. And then I started to talk to these people, and I'm like, wow, you really don't understand properly Buddhism and what the proper teachings are about, and the depth, of course, because these people don't even practice meditation, right? And it's just, again, the scholar aspect of things, right? So anyway, but then it has gone completely sideways now lately with the whole deep New Age generation and the whole ignorant egos, wannabes, combined with the fact that they have purposely, again, as part of the agenda, created an education system that makes people think that they are worth something, that they have some kind of education, variable diplomas, while actually they have been dumbing down the population, obviously. I mean, people have zero life skills now, like no street smart, right? No common sense. It's obviously to see that with the latest generation, they are good at, using the devices and learning quick how to manipulate those devices and whatever the new softwares and new functions. But yet, as far as real life skills, wow, obviously there's zero thing. That's why they keep bugging the weak parents of that generation who just give them money to provide, so it sustains the lack of real life skills for those children. But anyway, for example, so over time, I mean, I've seen that. So at the end, again, because they started to certify like life coaching, then people started to come up with their own words. Suddenly, it's not only that they pretend or they convince themselves that they are this or that for what was known and famous to give you some kind of recognized title, so some kind of legitimacy. But then suddenly they started to create the whole, just like the New Age like to speak in yoga teaching, they use the fancy, cool, New Agey words. So they started to create their own words of what the field is about. They suddenly created their own field, and then they start actually now. Many of them start to call them CEO just to sound cool again. I'm the CEO of my own company, where you are no CEO at all. You don't have any skills as far as what a CEO really is, but makes it sound cool that you create your own company, your own field, your own name, your own label. So, I mean, I have a little list here, for example. So some people call themselves or what they do, their own field, as, for example, soul training with creator beings. Means nothing. Sounds cool, but means nothing. Mastery empowerment. Infusions and activations with a targeted deep soul surgery. Okay. Akashic enlightenment. Again, yes, I know there's a whole field about the Akashic records and people want to think, but again, Akashic enlightenment, sure, whatever. The rainbow body activation, right? Of course, I mean, the whole appropriation of the rainbow thing, I'm not going to go there. People understand already my position about the rainbow flag hijacked by all those degenerates. When the rainbow, and which goes with the chakra colors, is such a deep, high spiritual significance and energy, and being hijacked by the most degenerate kind of humans. So maybe I will lose a lot of people by saying that now, and that's fine, because I don't have time for exactly that category of people I'm talking about now, the degenerate with a lot of pride and ego, who think they know when they don't, and you cannot hurt their feeling to make them realize where they are really at, actually, objectively. So then, well, you have organizational psychologists. Okay. I mean, the classic thing again about somatic experience practitioner. Again, the whole somatic, but sounds cool. Now that we have past trauma yoga, right? Again, the whole trauma and past trauma yoga, or trauma informed anything, right? Emotional relief, whatever. The body mind coach, human design. Again, that's another thing that has become a bit something, supposedly. Human design, well, whatever. Meditate deep enough and you will figure your true human nature, and that's all. At Chopra, of course, with Deepak Chopra, which has been in hot waters lately, and it's justified because, yeah, he's become a bit of a. I mean, for a while it was okay, but then again, like many others, and I've seen him. I went to one of his speech once, and yes, I was not impressed by his attitude actually. To confirm that there's a point where the ego catches back, people practice for a while at a certain level and they reach some good stuff and they speak the right things from deeper experience, but then afterwards you become popular and you practice less and you spend more time raking in money, right? If you are aware of how much he used to charge for his speech and whatever. So anyway, at the Chopra Center, they have a chief meditation officer, right? Again, yeah, sounds good. I mean, it's a very American way of looking at things, right? Yeah. Then you have, of course, the whole cuckoo, new agey, fairies, whatever, pot smokers or whatever, cosmic light workers, divine healing. Of course, anything divine sounds cool. Anything goddess too. I mean, yeah, enough of that. The goddess in me and God, goddess, especially the women with the goddess thing and goddess that. And please, you're so far from being at that level. That exactly shows how remotely far you are from something that could be qualified at that level when you mention things like this. Well, it's all the big ego and pride and conceit that makes you speak of yourself as a goddess. Embodied soul awakening, sure, whatever. The quantum healing and the theta healing, quantum healing, again, the whole. Yeah, cool words, modern words, sounds cool, sounds modern, sounds evolved. Just the same as. I'm not going to make a big thing about yoga here because I know, of course, some yoga teachers, and again, they don't like, to hear certain things, but what yoga has become, right? Again, it's the same thing. That's not the real yoga anymore, like how many yoga teachers suddenly has pop up everywhere and yoga school or whatever. I'm a yoga teacher. Well, you could see that most of them, again, they have no clue of what true yoga is and exactly the proper 8 limbs of yoga, and especially the last one. But they like to call themselves yoga teachers. But then you meet some real yoga teachers who are the proper way from the old ways. And then when I met some younger one a couple of times and I mentioned some things to them, they say, oh, no, that's kind of old school. That's the old way, now our big modern Western egos who always think that we know better and can improve upon anything. Now we do it like that, and now we don't do like this anymore. Blah blah blah. The new yoga, right? Which is all again, asanas, and of course those poor people, mostly women, who like to post so many selfies and pictures of themselves in a cool, complicated, acrobatic asana, and they think they are cool, or they call themselves yoga teacher. Well, they haven't understood obviously a lot about yoga teaching when they like to sum it up to a cool posture. Anyway, but yeah, the point again with what proper yoga used to be, and again, like anything else, the basics are always the real thing, and from back in the days as they knew over centuries and centuries, but suddenly you have that new generation, the new age, narcissistic, full-on ego, pride, conceit, who think they suddenly understand better and can improve upon those millennium years old practice. So anyway, so emotional archaeology, wow, yeah, that's cool. Angelic healer, okay. Neurosequential model of therapeutics, okay. Master of divinity, again. Spiritual quantum vibrational healing, I mean, all that, yeah. Yeah, like we would say the deeply spiritual, but hipster, fashionista. Then you have now actually some people call themselves holistic hairstylist. Okay, now the whole holistic thing again, the holistic word has been used all around, everywhere. But yeah, no, they use the word holistic in every kind of situation and feel like sure it could be applied to anything. So now we have holistic hairstylist, okay. Trauma sensitive mindfulness practitioner. Yeah. Anyway, just some examples of things that you find online and people. Anyway, so it goes back to the quote. Yeah, in that quote he talks about anger and pride. I mean, behind anger you would see the face of pride. But just to say that that's why humility has been lost. People don't accept to be an ignorant, non-knowledgeable beginner at something, and that it takes time, sometimes a lot of time and patience, which is gone nowadays again. People want instant gratification. That's why they are so addicted to social media and likes and thumbs up and anything. And then just, practice and to gain the proper skills and experience. I mean, you don't call yourself a yoga teacher really after your 200 hours or 500 hours even. That's nothing, You're a yoga teacher, really proper teacher, after practicing, understanding more, practicing yourself on yourself, still with competent yoga teachers and having taught a few years, then maybe you can become again. That's just the way it is. That's just the reality of things for everything, in every field. You're not an expert as long as you haven't studied properly long enough and practiced to gain the proper experience. But anyway, again, humility is gone, of course, because that's also part of the agenda, right? So it's all about the ego pampering at every level, right? Has always been, and more, and not hurting the feelings. Again, that whole disconnect from reality, because your feelings, you are responsible for your feelings, right? That's exactly what you discover in Buddhism. You are responsible for what happens in your mind, no matter the outside circumstances, ups and downs of life, no matter how people behave towards you. As I explained in the other video, you're responsible to choose your response to that, and your feelings are your responsibility. So that's why if you become angry, of course it's also caused by the pride and that ego that only sees things from that perspective, instead of, again, the New Age like to use the words love, loving kindness, compassion, while again it's so easy to trigger them and hurt them, supposedly hurt their feelings, exactly because it's all BS, it's all for the show to use those words. But at the end, there's no humility there. It's all pride and conceit. And so yeah, accept to not know for a long time, become humble, silent, and learn to observe. Actually, I'm not gonna go on another tangent on that one, but yeah, that's why also I have, of course, my compassion for animals, and amazingly, what animals put up with humans, even the humans who pretend to like them, care them, not just as pets, they're part of my family, blah, blah, blah. But it's amazing to see that at the end, so many animals, especially the classic pets, the dogs or horses or whatever, they not smarter or more intelligent but than humans, because people expect so easily them to adapt to new circumstances. First, they have a life that has nothing to do with their own animal nature, what they used to be as animal originally, has nothing to do with suddenly being in a human life and dealing with human emotions, and still the people assume that your pet just has to adapt and learn so quick those things that are specifically human and human lifestyle. While as human, when you want to tell them or make them change a little bit, oh, suddenly again, oh, my feeling, no, it's a big change, it's too hard for me, oh no, takes time, whatever. Just to change a little bit themselves, change their mindset, change their lifestyle. No. It's such a big deal. Suddenly the ego, the pride doesn't accept that. But then suddenly animals and their pets, they just have to adapt, and they actually adapt. So it's amazing that animals have more skills like that than humans. And only again for the same reason, because they don't have that pride, but they care for their owners only. So they want to please their owners, and they adapt so quick in real time to new things that have nothing to do with their animal nature. But when you ask people to change and evolve and progress and to change their habit, because they always think they know better, right? Again, that's the whole thing I mentioned before, that yeah, people say, okay, they read things, they mean that they want to become a better being, they want to so-called work on themselves, and then suddenly everything has to do again with change your habits, change your patterns, change your convictions, or look at things differently and open your mind. Then you realize, no, this is what works for me. So many times I've heard that, and I'm like, okay, well, then you're not willing to change and evolve. So yeah, because you still think you know better, you realize you have issues, things that you want to change, yet you always get the pride, conceit answer. No, I don't like it that way, I don't like that, and this is what works for me. Well, no, obviously, if you knew what works for you, you wouldn't have this problem still ongoing, and still thinking that you need to change something. But it's right there again. That's exactly the ignorance of people. It's like, I want to change, I want this to change in my life. Okay, are you ready to change? No. I know what works for me, I know this is good for me and this is not. Well, again, not willing to change. And if you know already better, then you're not obviously open-minded for change and for new perspectives. So, and again, it's back to a complete lack of humility, of acceptance to be a beginner and not know, and rather, the pride and ego as usual. So, but yeah, it will be still the same. These things don't change. You don't put a new Western ego-based take on it, as we are Westerners, we know better, white supremacy mentality, like colonialist thinking that Westerners know better or have the intellectual means to improve on things that have been around for thousands of years and proven over thousands of years in a certain way. And suddenly, but the modern world that we created means we know how to improve on those things or traditions. most of the time, no. Some things have to change or to be adapted to the modern world, but again, the basics are the basics, and that's how it is. And again, that's why there were many more skilled and real intellectuals, as again the reputation in France. France used to be famous as an intellectual country. Well, nowadays, of course, it's just the same degenerate like anywhere else in the world or in the West. And from the level of kids out of school to what we see now, the politicians, right? It's just a joke. I mean, they are just kids that they put as ministers and the president, and it's all a joke nowadays anyway. So no skills, no capacities, no competence. So, and it's all the same. But then big ego for sure. As I don't know if some of you follow what's happening in France, but it's exactly that. Or the same with Trudeau in Canada, actually. Again, that generation of young people put in place purposely because it's all about ego, pride, and being hard-headed with zero humility, of course. And they know what they're doing, but they don't care because they're protected for that reason, to in the face of the people tell that yes, we are incompetent, yes, we are doing the opposite of what is right, but we don't care, because that's the point, is to disrupt the whole thing. Anyway, but of course, as it says, for the people who will be able to let go again, the proper let go of that ego, of that pride and conceit, and become humble, to accept that they don't know. I guess there's a famous quote again about, the proper wisdom and knowledge starts where you realize and know the extent of your ignorance, which means that you accept that you are ignorant. And again, many people have a hard time with this idea. So, but then if you manage to let go, and the true ultimate let go of that at the end there's no me, no I, no self, it's not my body, it's a body that has been created by karmic energy over time, and just you're just a bunch of atoms. As I said before, you're just a thing that thinks, and thinks too much, obviously, especially from an ego-based point of view. But also, you're just a bunch of atoms. You're just like a thermodynamic machine, that's all, right? You're just a bunch of biochemical reactions, billions of biochemical reactions every second, and that's what keeps you, so what we call alive. And again, if you can manage to practice meditation deep enough and go deep enough, then you will become really aware of that, and that awareness will give you the wisdom of knowing that you are not this body, you are not this mind, you are just karmic energy accumulated over time and constantly changing, constantly shifting, adapting to new events and new things. And that's why there's nothing to be proud of, or no ego involved. And what I wanted to say also about that is, again, people have lost first the ability to listen. As we say again, people don't listen to learn, but they listen to respond out of pride and ego. So the capacity to listen properly, to integrate, to learn and progress, and also to observe. And that's a skill that I realized I have had a long time that helped me a lot. Of course, proper observation, objective observation. And that's actually another topic again about that is when you see animals, and again, those human kids, they are so useless, yet they're supposed to have all the means of a fancy human education system and parenting skills, supposedly, and blah, blah, blah. Yet, we see what they have become now, the latest generation, right? So useless with real life things. and you look at animals and the parenting of animals, it's a lot about, you kid, you observe and you learn from observing. They don't have parents most of the time who can do things for them, but they just show them, or the parents do, and the offspring of whatever animal species, they observe and learn from observation. They try, they give trials, and they learn from experience, from trying and observing, trying to repeat and do the same, and learn like that properly. And that's totally the opposite of the human way. And that's why humans and the new generation as kids, they become so useless. They get spoon-fed everything intellectually, but they don't learn to develop those basic skills of observing, learning from observing properly, and try yourself, so you gain experience. So after you learn from experience, so you properly know. But again, the proper observation skill has been lost, and again, with that humility of, okay, I don't know, I observe to learn. I observe to try to understand what's going on or how it's done properly. Oh, yeah. So that goes together again. But at the end, if you can develop those skills again, then a lot of good things will come karmically, and it will help to become really a better person with more skills and proper knowledge.